Welcome to our fish and beer cooking demo. I'm chef owner Kevin Morrison of Fish and Beer Restaurant in the Rhino neighborhood of Denver. Today I'm going to show you how easy it is to do our oyster roast at your house. We created this dish because we do an oyster roast every summer at our restaurant in our back patio, and we thought it might be a good idea to show you guys how to do it so you can do it at your house, in your kitchen or your backyard year round. So the oyster roast started in South Carolina around the late 1800s. Everyone in the town would gather with family, friends, their beverage of choice, and of course, great oysters. It was kind of celebrate the end of one season and look forward to the next season. So speaking of great oysters, we have our East Coast oysters. They're 38 degrees from the pristine waters of the Chesapeake Bay. I love the East Coast oyster because it's salty, briny, the meat's nice and plump. In the kit you'll get at home, you'll have 2 sheets of burlap, 36 of our East Coast oysters, our house garlic butter, and our devil butter. And of course you'll have an oyster knife to help pry the oysters open. So let's get started. So what you're going to need at home is 2 10-inch saute pans, either microwave dish to heat the butters, or you can heat them on the stove, what we're doing tonight. So we have our burlap soaking in warm water. What we're going to do is we're going to put our oysters in. We have 8 oysters to a pan. This is the perfect size because you don't want them piled on top of each other, so they can lay flat and steam once the burlap or your kitchen towel, like I'm using today, hits the pan and creates the steam. So we'll just put the towel over the oysters. Make sure not to have it hang over so it doesn't catch on fire. These will cook 8 minutes total, but after 4 minutes, what we're gonna do is add a little bit more water so it creates more steam. In the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead and melt our butters. So we have our house devil butter. And the reason we call it devil butter is it's made with chili diarbos, which are spicy. So we pan roast the chili diarbos, get a nice char on them, grill tomatoes on our wood-fired grill. As you can see, we have our grill back here going on. We do our tomatoes and onions on there, and then we puree it, let it all come to room temperature, and fold it into room temperature soft butter. Be back in a few minutes. All right, our first 4 minutes is up. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the pan that the burlap was soaking in. We're just gonna pour a little bit, probably have a 1/4 cup of water in each pan. That's gonna keep them moist during the steaming period. I just shut my butters off, so we're going to let those sit there and stay warm. Another 4 minutes, we'll be back, ready to eat some oysters.
She was 17 and she was far from in between. It was summertime in northern Michigan.
All right, our 8 minutes is up. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and shut off the oysters. If you have tongs at home, this is the time you're gonna wanna use them. Save the container that we used for the burlap, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna take that off, put it back in the container and set that aside, and we're done with it. But careful, this towel or the burlap is very hot. Oysters look beautiful. We're going to go ahead and set them on our tray. And don't worry about presentation. They're beautiful on their own. So this is the same pan you have at home. It's probably a non-stick pan, and you'll see it gets a little debris in there. Don't worry about it. It washes up. Let the pans cool down to room temperature. Put them in some hot soapy water and they clean up easily. Our butters are melted but still warm. It's our garlic butter, my favorite. Our spicy house devil butter. Got our beverage of choice. Let's eat. All right, our oysters are roasted, steamed, whatever you want to call it. They're ready to be eaten. So let's get started. Hope you freshened up your beverage. So what you want to do is grab your oyster knife, and you can use a kitchen towel or your oven mitt. Normally when you shuck a raw oyster, you're going to go through the back end. There's a hinge back there. But if you can see here, they're lightly steamed open, and that's where we're going to go in. You just put the oyster knife in there, lightly grab it with your towel, and just pry it open. The top will come out very easily. Sometimes the oyster is going to stick to the top or the bottom. The bottom, you can see it has a more of a concave shell. We'll set that aside. Just take your oyster knife, slightly go under that muscle where it's connected, and you can use an oyster fork. I just like to use my fingers. Dip it in our house garlic butter. And just keep going.
The way the moonlight shined upon her hair, and we were trying different things, and we were smoking funny things, making love out by the lake to our favorite song, sipping whiskey out the bottle, not thinking about tomorrow, singing Sweet Home Alabama all summer long. Singing Sweet Home Alabama all summer long. Catching walleye from the dock, watching the waves roll off the rocks. She'll forever hold a spot inside my soul. We'd blister in the sun, we couldn't wait for night to come to hear